In 1934, a tool and die man named Earl Hoffman in Flint, Michigan, kept his 1928 Model A running on $4 a year in parts. $4. That same year, his neighbor, a laid-off Buick assembler, drove a 1926 Chevrolet Superior. Across 3 states on a rebuilt engine, he fixed himself in a dirt floor garage for the cost of a sack of flour. Today, the cheapest new sedan on a Chevrolet lot starts at $21,000, and if the timing chain tensioner fails at 90,000 miles, your dealer will quote you $3,400 and a 2-week wait for a part shipped from Guanajuato. $4 a year versus $4,000 a repair. That is not progress. That is theft dressed up as innovation. There is a reason a 1931 Ford ran for 312,000 miles on its original block, a number documented by Popular Mechanics in a 1962 longevity survey. There is a reason the United States Army, in 1941, classified one specific pre-war American sedan as field serviceable by an untrained soldier with a screwdriver and pliers. And there is a reason that 9 out of 10 cars built between 1928 and 1936 outlasted the men who bought them. Detroit does not want you remembering any of it. GM's post-war executives, the same men who pushed annual model changes through Harley Earl's styling division in 1955, made a calculated decision. A car that lasts 30 years is a car you only buy once. Planned obsolescence was not a conspiracy theory. It was a board meeting. The dealer networks lobbied. The advertisers and the slick monthlies played along. And your father's mechanical knowledge was buried under a pile of vacuum hoses and computer modules. Subscribe. Now, if you remember a time when a man fixed his own car in his own driveway, because what comes next is the proof. Number 25, the 1930 Ford Model A Tudor sedan, driven by sharecroppers in Mississippi, school teachers in eastern Kansas, and Pennsylvania coal haulers who needed something that would still crank at 5 degrees below zero. By 1932, a used Model A sold for $185 in rural classifieds. The average factory wage that year, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics, was $17 a week. 11 weeks of pay for a car a man would drive until 1948. A farmer in Sedalia, Missouri pulls the choke, listens to the 4-cylinder cough twice in the December cold, and feels the steel steering wheel bite his bare palms. The cab smells of kerosene and wet wool. He drives his daughter to a 1-room schoolhouse 7 miles down a frozen rut road. The Flathead 4 was rated at 40 horsepower but was tested by Ford engineers to run continuously at full throttle for 500 hours without failure. You could rebuild the entire engine on a kitchen table with hand tools. It was replaced eventually by the 1949 Ford Custom, heavier, more chrome, sealed under a hood that required a service manual. The Model A did not die. It was buried alive by men in suits who decided durability was bad for quarterly earnings. Number 24, the 1931 Chevrolet Independence, the car of the small-town pharmacist, the railroad clerk in Roanoke, Virginia, the widow running a boarding house in Duluth. New price in 1931, $475. The average annual income that year was $1,368, a third of a year's pay for a 6-cylinder car that would still be on the road in 1955. A widow in northern Minnesota turns the key on a January morning, the inline 6 clattering to life, exhaust steaming white against a pale sun, the smell of choke-rich gasoline mixing with the stove smoke from her kitchen. The Stovebolt 6 was so simple that Chevrolet's own service bulletin from 1934 instructed owners to adjust valves with a feeler gauge and a wrench, no shop visit required. It was replaced by the 1955 small block V8, faster, yes, but built with tolerances that demanded specialty tools and dealer-only parts. The Independence asked nothing of you except attention. The new Chevy asked for your wallet. Number 23. The 1932 Plymouth PB Business Coupe. Driven by traveling salesmen across the Dust Bowl Plains, by deputies in West Texas, by a generation of young men who needed one seat, a big trunk, and an engine that would not quit at 110 degrees in the shade. New price, $495. Used by 1937, $140. A salesman in Amarillo grips a steering wheel hot enough to blister, the inline four hammering at 45 miles per hour across a road shimmering with heat, the smell of scorched oil rising through the floorboards. Plymouth introduced floating power engine mounts that year, an innovation Motor Trend later credited as the first vibration isolation system in an affordable American car. It outlasted 3 owners on average. It was replaced by chrome-laden post-war Plymouths designed to fail gracefully into the next model year. The PB Coupe was a tool. They turned tools into trinkets. Number 22. The 1933 Dodge 6, number 21. The 1934 Hudson Terraplane, number 20. The 1935 Studebaker Dictator. Each of these cars carried families through the worst economic collapse in American history on engines that asked for oil, gasoline, and patience. The Terraplane, in particular, set a stock car endurance record at Pikes Peak in 1933 that stood for 9 years, a fact documented in the National Automobile Hall of Fame archives. Hudson sold it for $595 new. A Hudson dealer in Cleveland once told a reporter in 1936 that he had customers driving Terraplanes with 180,000 miles still on the original rod bearings. They were replaced in the 1950s by the Nash Rambler and the Studebaker Champion, cars built for installment plans, not for lifetimes. Number 19. The 1936 Ford V8 Deluxe. Number 18. The 1937 Chevrolet Master. Stop here. In 1953, a mechanic working out of a converted barn outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, a man who had served in the Pacific and come home to fix. Tractors and Fords kept a logbook, every car he serviced, every part he replaced, every mile he tracked. When his grandson found the logbook in 1991, it contained entries for 47 different pre-1940 American cars, all still running, all owned by the same families that bought them new. The average mileage in that logbook was 214,000. The average annual repair cost, adjusted for inflation, was $38. Modern engineers at M1T, in a 2018 study on automotive longevity, concluded that pre-war American engines were over-engineered by a factor of 3 compared to modern equivalents. They called it excess durability. The old mechanics had another word for it. They called it doing the job right. Number 17. The 1938 Pontiac Deluxe 6. Number 16. The 1939 Buick Special. Number 15. The 1940 Mercury 8. Number 14. The 1941 Willys Americar. Number 13. The 1946 Ford Super Deluxe. Number 12. The 1947 Studebaker Champion. Number 11. The 1948 Plymouth Special Deluxe. Number 10. The 1949 Oldsmobile 76. Number 9. The 1950 Nash Statesman. Number 8. The 1951 Kaiser Deluxe, each one a workhorse, each one driven by a generation that understood a car was a contract between a man and his tools. Number 7. The 1952 Chevrolet 3100 pickup, the truck of the small orchard owner in central Washington, the framing carpenter in Tulsa, the church deacon in rural Alabama hauling firewood for widows. New price, $1,407. Average weekly wage, $61. 23 weeks of pay for a truck that would haul lumber and grandchildren for 40 years. The 216 Inline 6 was tested by the United States Army Corps of Engineers in 1953 for low-speed pulling endurance. It exceeded specification by 47%. What the modern owner of a $68,000 Silverado will never understand is that this truck was designed by men who expected it to be repaired, not replaced. Number 6. The 1953 Buick Special. Number 5. The 1955 Chevrolet 210. Number 4. The 1956 Ford F100. Number 3. The 1957 Plymouth Savoy. Number 2. The 1964 Chevrolet C10. Number 1. The 1965 Ford F100 pickup, the truck of every American working man between Bakersfield and Bangor. New price, $1,968. The 240 inline-six, according to Ford's own internal durability testing, released in a 1,971 service bulletin, was rated for 250,000 miles before its first valve job. There are F-100s still running in 2024 on their original blocks. A man in eastern Tennessee starts his father's 1965 F-100 on a frost-stiff October morning. The steering wheel cold under his hands, the smell of old oil and pipe tobacco still lingering in the bench seat fabric. His father bought it new with cash from a tobacco crop. It was replaced eventually by trucks with touchscreens and turbochargers and warning lights for problems that did not exist before the warning lights. What we lost was not a truck. It was the idea that a man could own a thing outright. I learned to change points and condenser on my grandfather's 1956 F-100 when I was 14 in a gravel driveway in southern Indiana with a wrench he had bought in 1952. He told me a man who could not fix his own truck was a man who worked for someone else his whole life. Find one this weekend. Drive past a farm auction, a country estate sale, a barn at the edge of a county road. Or call your father, your uncle, the old man down the street, and ask him about the first car he ever owned. Write it down before the answer is gone. Tell me in the comments, what was your father's car, and what did he teach you under the hood of it? Be specific. The make, the year, the smell of the garage. These cars were not transportation. They were the last proof that an American working man owned his own life.